Hello, friends. My name is Steve, and we're here today to discuss chapters 10 through 12 of the White Luck Warrior. It's my first time reading the Aspect Emperor series, and I'm here today with, as usual, Daniel and Katerina. Daniel, will you give us an introduction?
I'm Daniel, and I've read the series a couple times now. So I am trying to help these guys as much as I can without giving spoilers, while trying to discover some things I didn't notice along the way, too.
And I'm Katerina. This is my second time reading the series, and I might have just read the 150 pages that we assigned for today, this afternoon. So I might be experiencing a slight Baker overdose, but I'm doing well apart from that.
150 pages of Baker is like 300 or 400 pages of almost anyone else.
Yeah, my head's a little bit like,
Yeah. You should have mentioned that. I know you're feeling a little under the weather. It might have something to do with it, the Baker overload.
I've also I wasn't really feeling I wasn't in the mood to continue reading like early in the week, so I've left it for the end, and then I realized that we had a lot more pages than normally. So it's just poor time management on my part, as always. That's basically what it comes down to.
Well, at least you're consistent.
Consistently bad, yes.
Consistently procrastinating, but that's okay. I finished it today too, so we're in the same boat. Daniel, when did you finish?
Today, of course. I had
See,
less to read today, though, so.
yeah, yeah, I had about 50 pages today, so got the rest done. But I will say these three chapters, I feel like there was more. I shouldn't say more. There's always a lot, but I felt like we had more things happen, move the story along than the previous ones. How did you guys feel about it?
Yeah, I would say especially in the Sorwheel chapter, a lot happened. Same with Esmanet. The Akamian parts I tend to find more boring in general in this book. So I feel like that was mostly just them walk. I don't. Well, actually, there were a couple of revelations, but it's. I guess it's maybe it's just the way that it's told. It always feels like when there's some major revelation with the Kamian, it's like it almost like gets glossed over. I don't know if it's supposed to be like the like simulate the effect of the Kiri, but it's like I read some like big like reveal, and then like 10 pages later, I realize that that was actually super important. Um, so I don't know. Maybe it's just the way it's written, but yeah, I feel like maybe the Kamian chapter dragged a little bit.
I agree. What did you think? Jen? Those chapters seem the longest when I'm reading them.
Why are they so long?
I, I think it is the drugs, since every point of view is from the experience of someone who's like in the midst of a huge drug binge, also traveling who knows how many miles a day, but they finally reached a destination, so right where we left off. So maybe something good will happen, something interesting enough to not just be a unemotional drug trip.
Yeah.
The sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say I'm not sure that anything good ever happens to anyone in these books, but interesting is probably more likely.
Well, I think something good happened to Mathanet. Seemed like he had a victory.
Yeah,
I
there's battles and there's wars, right?
Yeah, I mean, but it was a he
This is a one battle.
for the time being, he's doing okay.
maybe he would have preferred a situation where he didn't have to commit a coup d'état.
Yeah, I think he would have, but did he have a choice?
Well, with Esmenet's paranoia, probably not. Like she did kind of put him in a position that where he didn't have any choice left, I guess. I guess you're right.
Little Kelmomus. It's the spider that's doing all these things and then just watching it happen and laughing about it.
And piercing people's eyes with skewers.
Yeah. He's a monster. So I guess we can start with Sorreel's chapter. There's a lot in this one. And I'm sorry. Go ahead, Daniel.
The Scions are dead now.
And he's the leader of the Scions.
Yeah, the defunct Scions in memory, I guess. And now he's been raised up even higher on a pedestal.
And they kind of switched places with Zoronga. Like it seems that Sorweel is now the one who holds more power and is less conflicted and more confident about himself and his role within the Holy War. Whereas Zoronga is kind of falling apart piece by piece.
Yeah, there's a big switch there, wasn't there? It seemed like there was a big change in their fortunes or were their status pretty quick.
Yeah, and he kind of explains it that he basically feels ashamed that he ran away from Sorweel when Sorweel called for him to help him save Escalise, and that because of his religion, he's now shamed in the eyes of his ancestor, and that might make it difficult for him to get into heaven when he dies one day. At least that's kind of how I understood their faith works.
But aren't they all damned?
I mean, I don't think the Zeumi believe they're all damned. Are they is the question.
Yeah, everyone believes different things, and who knows what the truth is. It seems to be moldable, according to Kellis.
Yeah. Kellis, he's on. I kind of worry about. Well, we'll talk about Kellis. I don't want to get too far ahead and stick with Sorweel for now. But Kellis is, yeah, he's pushing the limits of power. His character is. But there's a couple of quotes. There's one on 317 that I had tabbed, but it was. But the paradox, some would say, tragedy of human existence is that we so easily raise our lives about absence. We are bred on it. Men are forever counting their losses, hoarding them. There is meaning to be found in victimization, and no small justification. To be wrong is to be owed. To walk among the debtors wherever you go.
Muted.
I think you're mute.
Oh no. Okay. I think there's also another part of the quote where he talks about how like loss can never be complete, because if loss is complete, like you don't actually remember that you lost something, which is kind of the loss that the non-men experience, whereas humans, like you remember that you lost someone close to you, you remember that you were wronged, and it's the fact that you lack something but you still remember that you lack it. That's kind of what human existence centers about. I found that interesting also, and the way like it kind of separates men and non-men from one another.
The non-men are super interesting in this book. I mean, they are from the prologue even, but they're. I love the exploration of when you live so long, what happens to you. I mean, what how do you see the world? How do you see everything? Do you remember everything? What do you remember? What do you keep close to you, or what do you, or just go crazy?
The elves in all the other books seem fine.
Yeah, but those are fairy tales.
And now they got flying chariots. What did you think of the flying chariots?
I was. I don't see what the purpose is of having a chariot when you can just fly yourself. Like, why do you need to? Why do you need a levitating chariot as well? Like, you could just, hop on the air and fly to your destination yourself.
The spectacle, I guess.
One person can fly all the others.
Hmm. So they're not all mages, is what you're saying.
Oh, they probably are, but do they want to waste their time flying a chariot? Or just make their slave do it?
So, well, is it like a non-man public transportation?
How much is a chariot pass? That's what I want to know. How do you? What is the cost to ride?
I'm curious. How do you train the horse to stay calm when they're flying through the air?
These are burning questions, people. Yeah.
This is true. How old are these horses?
Yeah.
Or do they breed some special breed of horses that's like long lived as they are?
Probably not. They probably just go through them. Who knows? I guess we're going to get to know a little bit more, judging by where Sorwell gets to go.
Yeah, and I'm pretty excited about that. Like as you said, Steve, the non-men for me are like one of the most fascinating things about this book. So I'm really looking forward to learning more about them. Like we've learned a little bit about the history, but I'm really curious to see like what how they live these days. Like how many are left in Ishtarabith, and like what does it look like there?
I think we may find out. Daniel's giving his best poker face, but
And then we know that Kellis's daughter is going and one of his sons. Which son? Which son do you guys think it is?
Well, I mean I know, so maybe let's just have Steve guess.
I don't know. Um, I thought it would be. You mean go as part of the? Let me see what page we're on.
Part of the Neom, as they called it.
Yeah,
The
the ritual.
hostages. Yeah.
I thought that was going to be Theolopia, or I'm pretty mispronounced. I thought that was her, or did I misread that?
I believe she's in Momem.
Yeah,
You know,
So,
she's hopefully she's hiding in a wall, but we don't know yet.
I think my name's wrong.
but she
Yeah,
might be a little bit too far away.
Surway is the grand mistress of the priestess nuns, the Swayali or whatever they are.
the witches.
Yeah, so we know she's going.
Pretty powerful for them to learn the gnosis and to the witches to have that. I know they were trained a little bit on the gnosis, so I was surprised that they became so powerful.
Well, I mean, we've only seen Sorwa to do sorceries. Well, I mean, we've kind of seen the other from afar, but she's the only one we got to have a closer look at, and she's an Asarimber, so makes it's kind of inevitable that she's good at it, right?
Yeah. Is it well? It can't be Colomus, right?
He's also a Moomin, yeah.
Yeah, it can't be him. So unless Sammy is hanging out somehow, and
You got Caiutus, the leader of the. I forgot which army he's leading. The one that Sorwill's in.
I think
and
is it the Middle North or
that sounds right. And you kind of got his other son, Moingus, which is not his son, but his son.
yeah,
Those are the
everyone
two.
pretends. Yes.
Those are the two that are there now. And Serway basically said she has to go too when she talked to Sorwill. The Believer King. Sorwill's a Believer King now. And so is
She, though?
Stronga. Even though he's the least Believer King of all of the Believer Kings.
he's not a horse king anymore. At least
Well, he still is.
But it's not
I
an
did-
insult anymore.
yeah. Well, he's turned that around. But the section where he has to go and kill his slave, and that was a pretty good section of the book when he goes to beat a slave and the slave does it for him. Just another
Yeah.
dead skinny.
And they're digging through the like hill of dead that's rang, and then they uncover the corpse that's been buried in the ground, and the goddess possesses it, and she gives Sorwheel the pouch with the core. I get goosebumps in that scene. It's pretty intense.
And then it's somehow related to the old Anasaurimbers.
Yeah, like who do you think that person was? The one whose corpse they dug up. Like
I have no idea.
I don't. I mean, the only Anasarimber who I know died in field, like in a battle, is Kelmomus, right?
with the C.
Yes, yeah, the Kelmomus with the C. But I'm not. Like, could it be him, or is it just some other Anasarimber that I never heard of?
If it was Kelomus with the C, he probably was just bones, right? And because he's been gone for quite a while, hasn't he? He's been dead.
Yeah, like 2,000 years.
They talked about cutting a shrink's face and putting it onto the skull.
Yeah, it just started to move. That was pretty interesting.
And then the pouch, either the pouch or the core that was inside, somehow Serway doesn't notice.
Which is like, that's major information. I don't know. Are we sure that they can actually see through Sorwheel's face? Like, are we sure they're not just pretending? Like, it seems a bit odd that a witch could not feel a core. Well, or that like a goddess can't, or that goddess is able to mask a core so that a witch can sense it. Like, do gods use magic? Like, wouldn't she have to use magic to mask the cores? So, like, by definition, it would get negated as well. Like, I'm very confused about this, and I'm getting suspicious. Like, maybe all the Anasarimber are just pretending that they don't know that Sorwheel's been like possessed by Yatware, and they trying to this is all just trap. to somehow like trap Yatwer and overpower her, and they're using Sorrel to do it. That's my theory.
Akamian doesn't know that Mimara has the judging eye until like they talk about it, kind of. So he can't sense it, but he's not a Dunyan either. And then Sorrel's even worried about telling Zranga stuff, like saying that he'll see it in his eyes because he's not masked, so he can't tell him all of his secrets. But I don't know.
Well, I think like yeah, like Sorwheel thinks they can't see through him, but what if he's wrong? What if they're just pretending? Or not?
I
I
guess
have no
we'll
clue.
know.
Yeah.
We got told again that Kellis has been to the outside, right? So, and he brought some crazy heads back with him.
Yep.
And
And
that
the non-men seem impressed.
he appeared to believe it after they touched each other. They shook hands.
Yeah, that from the page. It's on 364. They struck a deal, right? Um, well, before the non-man comes and they discuss the deal, I'm feeling pretty bad for Proyas because Kellis is just like, I mean, I don't know. I feel bad for Proyas because he just seems like he's just like I chose to live this life of bondage to you. Like I chose to live like this. And Kellis is just like, yeah, you're just like a tool that I use. And it's, I don't know. I kind of hard, a little hard to read after getting to know Proyas from the first series and kind of what he's become is a little kind of sad, but that's what I guess what Kellis does.
Kellis tells him that he's just the lesser Proyas and he has the greater Proyas in shackles.
Yeah, Callus has some pretty funny lines in this chapter. Let me see if I can find it. Like he says something to he says something pro. Oh yeah, he tells him, "I pulled aside my hair and beads, and you find my wife's ugly." I thought that was funny. And then like later on, before the non-men arrive, he tells Perez, "Well, there is a reason why men prefer their prophets dead."
Yeah, it's
But
a little rough.
I mean, I do agree with you, Steve. I also feel bad for Proas. Well, I mean, on one hand, he's a fanatic, so I don't feel that bad for him. But like, yeah, he's basically sacrificed his life, most of his life, for Kellis and his teaching, and now Kellis is just like, oh yeah, like that was all bullshit. Why you're surprised? So it must be hard for Proyas to come to terms with that.
I don't know. I mean, if it was hard for him, I think he's over it now. He's just kind of accepted it. He seems to be just like, I know my place, basically. Like, just I chose to serve you. I'm just here to serve you. And I don't know. It's kind of sad. I guess after 20 years, you have just an adjustment period, I guess. But
Hey,
I feel like more it's just the beginning of his person like identity crisis that's about to like get even worse as we go on. Like that's my guess. It doesn't feel like this is something that you can easily recover from, I would think.
I don't know if Kellis has told him that The religious view was a lie, just that Kellis himself was a lie. The tool was a lie, if that makes sense. Kellis hasn't said that he's evil yet. He's still doing what the pious would do, if that makes sense, but he's just a living prophet and they're gross. He admitted it. No one wants their prophets alive.
Yeah, I guess the thing I'm still wondering about is why is Kellis doing this? Like, why does he? I assume there is a goal to. It's not like Kellis just got tired of pretending, feeding Proyas lies. Like there has to be some other purpose. So what is this purpose? Why is he suddenly trying to make him see through the deception that he's wrapped around him for the last 20 years?
It seemed to me like he kind of said he was using him to fight another war. There's multiple wars being fought. But who knows what kind of war?
I don't know. I'm pretty lost.
What did he tell him? He told him far worse dilemmas confront us, my brothers, far more dreadful decisions, and they've already just killed all their slaves. So, who knows what worse dilemmas and dreadful decisions. That was after, what, 7 schoolmen died or something to Corey from Shrank somehow.
Yeah, just going back to the slaves. I felt really sad when uh Zoronga when Abategua returned, and then Zoronga was like, oh no, like this, like you shouldn't have returned. Now I have to kill you. And they had this like kind of goodbye party in their tent, and it was very sad. And I felt bad for Zoronga. That clearly Abategua was someone who was very important to him, and kind of like a father, maybe a little bit. So like it's almost like both like Sorwila and Zoronga are orphans now. Like they're becoming more and more similar. And I think their friendship is really beautiful. Like the way that they kind of accept one another and have learned to respect one another. It's not something you see very frequently in these books. So I think it's even more because of that I really like the two together as friends.
And then it's taken away.
Is it a surprise in this, in this series? How often do
Like,
good things happen?
yeah. Well, do you think, like, since it seems that the Yatwer has kind of been purposefully trying to put Sorwheel into certain situations and to get him into like certain position, like, do you think this is also part of her plan, getting sending Sorwheel to Ishtarabinth, or is this the Aspect Emperor kind of going against her plans?
I didn't think of it that way. Kellis is. I have a little bit of concern over power trip for Kellis, because how powerful can he get? And if he is everywhere, they mention later on in the book that he is everywhere all at once, then what doesn't he know?
Well, we certainly learned that he knew about Akami and his little quest.
Yeah.
I guess we'll back to it later, but yeah, he definitely seems to know more than he gives the appearance that he knows. Yeah.
So he lets things happen that may be bad, but I guess the end result is what he's concerned with, right? Is the he lets certain things happen, even though knowing that it's a short term step back, like the coup, like Mathanet, he didn't stop that.
I think he's very much the ends justify the means kind of guy. I would agree with that.
Daniel was trying really hard not to not to say anything.
Yeah. I thought it was really interesting when he said he came back from the outside and he saw that all the gods are just like broken fragments, and the non-men said they worship the void between the gods, the broken spaces between.
And that's why they damned. Was interesting information. Like, do you have to believe in the gods to avoid damnation? Like, is that what I'm getting from this? Is that right?
Or is that what they want you to think? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
I think I've become more paranoid than Esmonand in the course of over the course of reading this book.
You're having an
I don't
existential
trust
crisis.
I don't trust anything that anyone says, including you, Daniel.
That's good. I might try to lead you guys down dead ends once in a while. Just so you guys don't see the clear end.
Yeah, well, I mean, if that's your intent, then you're succeeding. Like, I'm getting increasingly more confused about what's happening in these books and who actually is who and what their goals are and how they're planning to get there.
The outside is confusing. It's all confusing. Non-men that have been around for 10,000 years just wandering around. Ghost non-men down in mountains. Other non-men riding around on chariots, which kind of means that their civilization is somewhat intact. When everyone was debating whether they were all just erratics or if they had some kind of society still.
Right. Like, I think, yeah, like when I first read this book, I think I just assumed that the non-men were gone. Like, maybe there were a couple of them like wandering around, but there weren't any mentions left. So I was kind of surprised when the embassy showed up at Callus's camp. I also like the fact that Proyas calls them ghouls. That was really funny.
Yeah, it helps get a better picture. They're just beautiful ghouls.
Yeah, well, I didn't know he says like Baker, like he says they're beautiful, but then he compares them to, was it like mutton fat or something?
Mutton fat.
That's not like a very aesthetically pleasing image that it conjures, in my mind.
I guess you get to a certain age and you just don't like stop caring if you look like mutton fat, I guess. I don't know. Just accept it.
Well, it doesn't sound as a compliment.
No. There was and I may be way off here, so correct me. I may be looking for something that's not there. But at the beginning of chapter 11, there's a section that that the White Look Warrior section, and the last line is, well, the two last lines were, the blood was as sticky as he remembered, like the oranges he would eat 53 days from now. And a page later, on 371, it's mentioned that ever intended Emilius purchased an orange at the first opportunity, cut in half and held about the mouth and nose. Oranges and lemons provided in relatively effective remedy against urban reek. I may,
Coincidence?
I don't know. Maybe it's just coincidence, or maybe I don't know. It just struck me as kind of odd that there was a mention of oranges twice in 2 or 3 pages.
Yeah, it's not peaches, so it's weird.
Speaking of peaches, and now I'm going back to Sword Wheel. Really?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Little brother is the worst euphemism for male genitalia that I've read in this series so far. Like, I can get over the members and the phalli and everything, but the little brothers, it was just a little bit too much.
Yeah, he's just. It just felt like he's just kind of. I don't know if he's just having a laugh or. I don't know. It almost seemed like locker room kind of talk, or I don't know.
Like how many like descriptions or creative descriptions of penises can you come up with?
I guess
Well,
if you mention it so many times, you have to get creative and use different terms. Maybe he had a list and he's running out. I don't know.
yeah, he did all but his dissertation in philosophy. He's got a lot of words to describe things, I'm sure. We still got 2 books left. Maybe one will beat that.
Oh, I'm terrified.
Little brother, yeah. I know another booktuber who did a live stream about these books, and they had mentioned peaches, and they didn't get they didn't get too far into it, but the video was demonetized because they
Oh,
but they discussed a lot more than we usually do. We have clever terms we use for certain things, so
oh well, then you can bleep me out before you publish this.
no, I don't care. It's just for fun, so they can demonetize it if they want. Okay, it's worth the laugh.
Sorry,
There's
that was a distraction. You go.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that because I read it and I wasn't sure if it was like a supposed to be funny or if he's just running out of because I think there's been phallus mentioned I don't know 50 times. Is that fair in the series? So
At least I would say, yeah.
yeah, yeah, I think yeah maybe even more than that.
I think there was some time ago. I think someone like ran the books through a program and counted the file. But I don't remember what in the entire series. But I don't remember what the count was. Maybe someone in the comments can enlighten us.
there's a whole race of lovers in this.
No,
I think phallus, seed, peach. What else?
it's the member that gets me every time as well.
Remember? Yeah.
I was very confused. Like English, not my first language. I was a little bit confused when I first read that in a sentence. Like, what members are we talking about?
Oh,
It took me a
hilarious.
while.
I always think it's funny that English isn't your first language and you're much more well spoken than I am in English. So
Oh, come on.
kudos to you. I'm not kidding.
No, I mean, appreciate you saying that, but we both know it's not true.
No, I
We
don't
we
think
learned
so.
all our words in 4th grade when we were young, and she didn't learn them until she was older. So all our big words are newer to her, more fresh in her memory.
Well, I bet you didn't learn the word phallus in fourth grade.
No, probably 6th.
Is that when you read Prince of Nothing?
No. That's when South Park came out and all the kids grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Well, I watched True Blood when I was pretty young, so I did learn a lot from that.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's a lot to learn in True Blood for sure. Not all good stuff.
Def- yeah, it's very educational.
We were raised on True Blood and South Park. There we go. The there is a let's see section about on page 400. How did I rise to power? He asks, seeing her thoughts as always, a rueful smile, as if remembering escapades best forgotten. Men make what they already believe the measure of what is true or false. What they call reason is simple apology. The masses will always believe false because the fancy of their forefathers is always their rule. I rose to power by giving them truths, little truths, for which they possessed no rule, one after another.
Well, we had our presidential election a few days ago. Well, it's cut. Well, we have well, anyway. Yeah, we had our presidential election a few days ago, and it kind of made me think that Kellis would have had like a really high chance of winning. It's not unlike some of the candidates that we had on the ballot.
We don't have anyone nearly as smart in America. We have Joe Biden who walks the wrong direction and mumbles half the time, or Trump who's just the most cocky, dumb person ever.
Yeah, I wasn't really thinking about like the intelligence part of it. It was more like about the like manipulating people with like half truths or little truths that, when you look at them in the context, are not really truth at all, but just misleading information.
That is politics. That's the closest thing we have in the real world is politics.
No, would Callis be successful as a politician now? I mean, would he have that same kind of influence with so many different? I think it would depend on which country he's in, which how he would appeal to the people in the country or their culture. Kind of like a rallying cry. He would need something to rally everyone else around.
He would find it.
I think he's very good at telling people what they want to hear or what they think they want to hear, and using that to make them do things that they might not have done otherwise. So if he was running for an office, I would probably bet on him. But I mean, I do agree with you though, Daniel. I don't think any of the politicians that I'm aware of is as intelligent as Kellis is. Or if they are, they're hiding it pretty well. Which, I mean, they might be if they want to be relatable.
But we're all human and he's not. So
It's true. I did really feel for Esminet after the events of the coup, and she tasted defeat for the first time in a long time.
and right as she's hiring Narendari to kill the Shrai takes like her entire livelihood from her. But he's already dead. That's what he said. Don't even worry. It's already done.
Just to be clear, that's the white lug warrior that she's talking to, right? Like, he killed the actual Narendari in the beginning of the chapter.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't catch that.
What do you think, Steve? Oh, you,
I don't know. I have no idea. I didn't. I totally missed that.
I'm pretty sure that that's what happened. Um, I mean, he arrives in someone's house on the fourth floor and kills him, and the person he kills has long hair, I believe. And then Esmenet comes to see the assassin who lives on the fourth floor, and she is surprised that he does not have long hair, as all Nerendari assassins usually have.
and during his little section, the guy is like, I cut the, what does he say? I opened the bones and I know you were coming. And then even though he knows he still gets killed, he knows he was going to die, actually.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then the White Lug Warrior, when he talks to Esmenet, is like, he's like, don't worry about it. It's already happened, and like we kind of know, like he sees the future as the present, sort of. So it makes sense that, like, yeah, like in his mind, he has already done it. Like it's already happened for him, as much as it will happen sometime in the future.
And then Arendari seen that it was going to happen to him because he cut open the animal or whatever.
The dove. I gutted a dove in the old way.
And then he keeps asking him why the 100 hate his god. And then he tells him that Ajokli is the fool. And he says he only seems as much. And then he dies. So maybe he was the fool.
Where he also says that the Ajokli, he sees what the others cannot see, which sounds awfully similar to what Kellis says, that he also sees something that the 100 cannot see. So I wonder if there may be some connection between the two. And Ajokli is also the god that Kelmomus visits in the prologue of the Judging Eye.
He kills a beetle in front of him. He's the
Right.
four-horned brother.
Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't realize, and I don't think maybe I wasn't paying attention, but I don't think it was mentioned up until this point that Ajokli is the god of, like, I don't know, he's kind of the patron of the assassins, but he's also the god of deception and thief. And I guess Kalmomus is very good at deceiving people and stealing things and killing people.
I think Ajokli is like the trickster god.
Well, Kalmomus certainly is a trickster himself.
There's also a line in this first section that we're talking about now in chapter 11 on 368. The White Look Warrior saw himself shrug. He sees himself climbing stairs that had crumbled into a narrow slope. So if he sees himself shrugging and walking.
Yeah, there was a section before this where he like looks up and he just looks at himself, looking at himself. So he's forever following in the footsteps of like what he's gonna do, the future. That's why he already knows what's gonna happen before it happens. And there was even a moment where he like looked out at the city, at all the paths he would never walk, because he's just got one destination.
Yeah, I kind of imagine it like a film, like actual film, with like you have all the frames. It's like he can see all the frames, like from the beginning to through the middle towards the end. Like he can see everything that will happen at once, or everything that has happened, is happening, and will happen. So I guess for him, it's all happening. Like all instances are happening simultaneously. That's kind of how I understand it.
It's very Lovecraftian, isn't it?
I've never read Lovecraft.
Very
Shame
like
to admit
everything's
it.
happening. Yeah, everything's happening all at once. The past, present, and future is happening all at the same time. But kind of what it
At, le-
reminded me of.
at least for this White Luck Warrior, it is, and maybe for some of the other horrors that we've seen so far are kind of Lovecraftian.
Yeah, the winged creatures with pendulous phalluses. See, I imagine that also is quite Lovecraftian.
I'm surprised you didn't say with Little Brothers. I was expecting you to say Little Brothers.
Big Brothers.
For those who are listening to the podcast, Katerina's face is like bright red right now. Well, that's too funny.
I probably shouldn't laugh.
No, it's funny.
There was a part when this is going back a little bit, but when Sorwell was taking his slave to kill him, where he like thinks about telling him to run and realizes that would be like the cowardly thing to do because he was just going to be dead anyways. It would prolong his death and make it be from starvation. And then it says he choked on a scream that was a laugh, that was a sob, that was a father's soothing whisper. That was a pretty hardcore part for me.
Yeah, that sounds like he's having an existential crisis, I guess.
But then
kinda like-
Prosperian suicided himself, so he didn't have to do anything.
Yeah, I guess it's I guess it kind of goes back to the question of like, is Sorwheel becoming more courageous, or is it just Yatwer like arranging things for him, coming like preparing situations that he can come from looking courageous to others.
He admits that what he did was really cowardly when they were running away from the Srank. He was being a coward, but it worked out in his favor. Or he thought he was being a coward, but to Saranga, he looked like a hero. And Escalise lived because he's a fat man in times of famine. They just never die.
Yeah, that was a great line too.
I feel like there are several heavier or slightly older sorcerers running around in different parts of the world. You like who are like kind of grumpy, little bitter, but also like learned, and not like very knowledgeable. And of course, I'm thinking about Akamian, but also Escalise, and also, what's his name? Oh gosh, Malawebi. Is
Malawebi?
that his?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Malawebi.
Malawebi. I get a sense that Baker likes his elderly, slightly overweight sorcerers.
If anyone in this world is going to be able to be overweight, it would be a sorcerer, though, right? They're all part of schools. They just sit around with each other and eat and read books all day. Everyone else is tightening their belt, just trying to find a rat to eat. Preferably one that hasn't been eating humans for before that.
Preferably.
But then you're running a danger of becoming a pony killer. Just saying.
Lots of ponies have died in the series too. Well, I guess not many, but memorable ones. Memorable. They have names, so it's a little different.
Yeah, there's not even a room in this world for cats and dogs. They would have all been murdered long ago.
Yeah, I wonder what happens to Sorwheel's pony. Like, I guess it got eaten by the Strang, right? I don't think there's much chance of him getting out of there alive.
Unless Escalese got on him and started riding him. The one horse that lived under him. Because he's stubborn. Wasn't that his name?
Yeah, stubborn.
Yeah.
And then what did you guys think of the culling? The great ordeal, this day after day, out ahead of the line, murdering Shrink by the thousands and thousands, and then it's just still never enough. The mathematicians, they just are trying to add it up, and they can't.
Maybe because they're coming from somewhere else.
And then the theory is that maybe some Earth rank are mixed in with this rank, and that's who's throwing or using the core, or the Earth rank and the mandate might have taught this rank.
Can you remind me what the Earth Shrang are? I kind of forgot.
It's like a race that's used by the Inkarai, a smarter race. They can like get into war bands.
So it's
They
like
can
the
ride horses and talk.
is it like the Uruk-hai in Lord of the Rings? Like the bigger orcs?
I think I think they're like the more advanced Shrink. Like they have some they're not as savage or
Domesticated. We'll call
yeah,
them domesticated animals.
they can be trained and have some kind of intelligence. Yes.
Here, sit, stay, attack.
But yeah, I guess it's kind of like it's like fighting a forest fire. I guess that's how except like you have the sorcerers are actually making the fire, but it's like there's no chance that they can ever annihilate all of the Srang. It's they just have to do enough to, I guess, keep pushing them in front of them, but there's just too many.
It never ends. Seems like there's like
And
no end to it.
we already seen once what happens when they get pushed too tight. Then they explode back out. Who knows how big of a horde that was or how big of a horde is in front of them now, but I think they said it's miles deep, miles long and miles deep. They even said that they lined the mages up, and the line of mages was miles deep, killing them, and it's still just never enough. They're getting pushed back into one tribe upon another tribe upon another tribe.
Maybe someone or something is creating them, or I don't know. It seems like it's like no end to the Shrink. And this is after years of the scalpers and everything else chipping away at their population too, for quite a while, right?
Yeah, but I guess kind of works in the sense that when a commune and the rest of the company reach the plains, they don't actually encounter any Srang.
It's true. Yeah, they go
Dead
for a
ones.
while, right?
Just dead
It's
ones.
piles.
Yeah, just the dead ones.
But this shrink were like left alone for a long time with no one to kill them, and they just took over the entire north. And who knows how fast they multiplied, but they just multiplied for 1,000 years or more. So who knows how many there are up there. This is like the first time people are getting to the far north, sort of, in a long time.
Yeah,
What's
and
their
I
what's
mean,
their lifespan, right? I mean, they must live for a while.
no idea. But Duranga and Soriel talk about like whether that is proof that Kellis is actually honest about the war that he's leading, about the war against the consult and Golgothorath. And they talk about how this doesn't necessarily prove anything, I guess, that like just because he's killing the Strang doesn't mean that his intentions are pure. Like maybe he still has other goals in mind that he's not shared with the rest of the Great Ordeal.
If I was Kellis and I walked on conditioned ground and I found out there was a god on the outside that conditioned all my ground way before I got there, I'd be mad and I'd want to condition his ground. If I was a Dunyan, I guess that is.
Not what there's a mention that something not human, a Dunyan.
And the non-men. We got lots of non-human races around.
Yeah, the humans are in the minority in the north, it seems.
I guess that makes Kellis's kids halflings, right?
I mean, Nathan has a halfling too, right? Because he's
Yep. He is he is the mixed race, I guess.
he seems to handle it a lot better than Kellis's children do, because he was trained, right? He had some guidance.
Yeah, and also like remember Moenga's drowned all the disfigured ones.
In was it in wine? Did he drown them in wine?
Not sure. No, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if they talked about that specific aspect of it.
I feel like they might have talked about it. Red wine or something.
It's like fresh red wine or something like that. There was a specific type of wine, but
Only the finest for Espinet's kids.
there was a line in the beginning of chapter 12. Know what your slaves believe, and you will always be their master.
Was that chapter 12? It sounds more like something that like a piece of advice that Esminet could use.
It's a Aenoni proverb.
There's lots of good proverbs in here.
Yeah, I don't know what it's supposed to refer to. Like in chapter 12 specifically. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Maybe something about Casoter. I mean, we know that he is a believer. But I don't think that anyone else in among the skin eaters is. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Or maybe it has to do with the Kiri and like a Kamian and Mimera like gradually realizing that maybe it's not the best idea to spend their days drugged on the ashes of a dead non-man.
We find out they don't have a choice, though, right? No, Camien's tied up and drugged anyways.
Could it be that Kellis uses that philosophy to control the non-man?
They're not. Yeah, I don't even just like. I was kind of confused about the way that they explain it. So I understand that Casoder received some orders from Kellis to form the skin eaters, but I didn't quite understand what exactly the purpose of that was. Or like I understand they were supposed to keep an eye on Akamian, but then once Akamian left, why did they agree to take him to Sogleash? Why would they like is there a reason? Like is it just that they're supposed to follow Akamian wherever he goes, or is there some other reason why they're accompanying him to Sogleash? And was it always planned that they would like run across Mimera, or was that just accident that she decided to follow Akamian as well?
Does Kellis make? Does he? Are there many accidents with Kellis? I mean, did he want her to be pregnant to
Or
have the eye?
I mean, well, they couldn't have they found someone else to impregnate her.
That's so. Yeah, that's really. Every time I read those sections, it's like,
Oh,
why?
I think in this one it said that Mimara says she's pregnant with her mother's child at one point. That was a crazy line.
yeah. I mean, I kind of get it. Like Akamian. I mean, maybe not now, but at least initially, I guess he pretty much just thought of Asmonet. What, like, yeah, he just imagined it was Asmonet when he was talking to Mimara. Um, and I guess you can imagine that if Asmonet and Akamian stayed together, they might have had a child together. I don't know. So I guess I understand that comparison, but it's still a little bit. I mean, he's old. No offense, but he's he's like 70.
Yeah, he's up there. But I think it mentions that she's the closest he can ever get to Esminet, so that's why she was appealing to him, which is I don't know. The whole thing is just really distracting. Of all the things that make me uncomfortable, that didn't make me uncomfortable in this series, that were like I kind of just glossed over, like all the terrible things that happen. This is one that just it really like it gets me every time. So, oh, why did you do that?
Yeah, I mean, in his defense, I feel like their relationship has evolved into like a father-daughter relationship. But then when you think she's pregnant with him, it's like it makes it even worse.
I do think it's a little arrogant of Kamian to think that he would be able to do this without Kellis knowing somehow. Or has he just been isolated for so long that he just forgot or doesn't know how powerful or didn't know how powerful Kellis is, because he knows now. Because Kellis just, his voice appears and tells him, next time you come before me, you will kneel. I mean, can't escape.
Yeah, I mean that's what he tells him at the end of the Thousandfold Thought, right? When he just but right before he leaves the Citadel. But I mean, a comment. He talks about it himself. Talks about the fact that he became. I don't know if arrogant's the right word, but maybe too like consumed with his like he became too certain of himself and his assumptions that like he stopped questioning himself and everything. Like he used to be the kind of person who like always doubted and always questioned his own assumptions and other people's assumptions, and I don't know if that's the effect of the Curie or if that is the effect of just him being alone for the past 20 years, that kind of made him lazy, I guess, like intellectually lazy. But yeah, he certainly miscalculated when it comes to Callus, and he's
He
paying
knows
for it
all.
now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys think that Kellis knows all?
Let's see. Well, that is what, who said it? Oh, the captain, right? Because of him, the Aspect Emperor knows all. So at least the non-men think so.
I mean, I don't know if he knows everything, but it seems I think everyone agrees at least that he knew about that like the skin eaters were sent there by Kellis, or at least Gasoder was sent there by Kellis, and Kellis knew about where Kamian was and what he was up to.
What about the time when Kellis leaves the Great Ordeal and goes all the way back just to make the Yatwarian priestess wet herself and grovel at his feet, and then it like immediately pretty much leaves without talking to anyone else, and then the Yatwarian priestess ends up dead? Was that his intention? To go all the way there just to make sure that little Kelmomus kills the priestess and causes the whole entire empire to tear apart?
I
Did
think
he
we
know this?
I think we kind of agree that Kelmomus is an unpredictable factor in all of this. Like Mathanet wasn't able to like Mathanet didn't see through Kelmomus, and the impression I get is that Kellis. I mean, if he had spent more time at home, he probably would have seen what Kelmomus was about. But the sense I get is that he wasn't at home very often, and Kelmomus always just avoided him. So I don't. I would tend to think that Callus has not considered Kelmomus as a factor in his probability transits.
And Mathanet says that SMNet makes Kellis walk in arcs instead of straight lines. So he's not walking the shortest path because he's, for some reason, cares about SMNet, or that's what Mathanet thinks. He said that a couple chapters ago. So maybe there are some blind spots that Kellis has. Maybe he doesn't see everything. Maybe he does.
Ugh, I'm getting a headache. I mean, we don't know. And like, if Kellis doesn't see everything, then he can't know either. Like, that's what he talked to Proyas about. Like, if you don't, then you don't know. Then you don't know that you don't know.
Why would you jump into fires and listen to people if you knew everything?
Well, I guess jumping into fires and eavesdropping is one way of knowing everything, learning about everything. I don't know.
You just need to figure out how to play back at 3 times speed so you can at least listen to a few fires a night.
I mean, let me tell you, like, you get a pretty good practice of that if you train hard enough. At least with audiobooks.
And we do find out that the captain is the, I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, the last non-men king.
Oh, Nilgikas. Yes, I have
Oh.
another question about that. So, Nilgikas is the king of Ishtarabinth, right? The non-men who come to Kellis are ambassadors from Ishtarabinth on behalf of Nilgikas. So if Nilgikas is the cleric and he's like here with a commune, who the hell is ruling Ishtarabinth right now?
Hopefully we get to find out.
I hope so.
It
'Cause
seems like signs are pointing us in that direction.
like, unless there are two Nilgikas seas, which I doubt, something's off. Someone's not telling the truth.
Or maybe there's someone holding his house in order until he shows back up.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very likely he's going to go back. He also doesn't seem to be in a state where he could rule a mansion. No offense to cleric.
If you remembered his name, at least. Doesn't seem like there's anything attached to his name, though.
What do you mean?
Like
Attached?
the thought of being the king of the non-men, like, isn't attached to the name to him. He's just wandering, trying to remember. So Nilgikas is a name, but it's not as well remembered to him as it might even be to Mamara or Akamian. That makes sense, because they study the name. They remember the history when his books are only so long.
It's like also
his new book, The Captain. Who knows how long he's been his book or will be his book.
It's also, I think that's the third name that we know he has used. So like we know him as the cleric, but he also mentioned at one point he says his name is what, in Cariol? Is that the name? And now we learn he's Nilgika. So I mean, I'm getting confused. So no wonder he's getting confused. Well, I'm sure he has many other names.
Yeah, every race probably has a different name for him. I guess if you're 10,000 years old, you get a lot of names eventually. You can ask Yahweh.
Yeah, I imagine he has had a lot of nicknames over the years.
So kind of get a little bit of his well, there's a section where he asks, because you love me. And he cries, "No, no, because I need to remember, I must remember. And so you must betray." So is he doing this to try and remember something? It's on page 426.
There's lots of like parts where the captain is whispering to him, and now like the whispers are they're hearing him a little bit, and it's like it's telling him you remember them. You used to care about them. And then we also learned that everything that the non-men loves, they destroy. So the captain seems to be wanting something to happen between them. Not good.
I'm mostly confused about that part. Yeah, I'm not sure when he talks about like remembering and loving. I'm not. I wasn't sure if he meant that he needs to or he wants to hurt Maimara because he wants to remember her or because he wants to remember someone else from his past. Maybe it's both. Um, but at least at least what I get from the way they talk about like memory and non-men is that the things they tend to remember are like traumatic experiences or moments where they caused a lot of hurt to other people. So I guess for him to remember Mimera, the best way to do it is to do something awful to her.
We've seen Mimera, well, she's been mentioned before, right, as being remembered by other people. So
The name.
is that something that he's trying to remember where he remembers her from? I don't know.
And then she decided she was going to try to seduce him. That was an
And she
interesting play.
shaves her head and eyebrows.
With the razor.
So she looks more like him.
Like a non-woman.
Not Mimera.
And I forgot what his response was when she asked what happened to his wife.
It's like
But
they
I
all
think-
died, or what was it?
Yeah, it was not good. Something not good happened.
Yeah, I think she died like the other ones. Or maybe she
They
died.
ask,
Yeah.
didn't they ask what happened to the wives and daughters? Is that what they ask? And he,
I think Katerina was right. She specifically asked about his wife that he cared about, and then he said that she died like the others. So maybe from the womb plague.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I don't know if the womb plague killed the women or if it just made them infertile.
I think
But
that
they're
I'm
all
sorry.
dead, so they didn't get to live indefinitely like the non-men did. And there was one non-men king that decided not to treat with the Inkorai, and he like lived a normal life and died.
Oh. Good for him, I guess.
That's a tough one. They're probably, at the time, they probably thought he was an idiot, but now he's like, look at me now. No.
Well, he's probably burning in hell somewhere, so.
Slightly less damned. Just
Slightly less.
I don't know what the difference between a tinge of damned is and just a black stain of damned. Both seem to be like eternity in hell. So
Trying to find this section because Mimera asks him, "Do you remember me?" And he says, "Yes." And he felt her face, and he put his finger in her mouth.
then when she seduces him, she puts his finger in his mouth.
Um,
She tells the captain she's pregnant, and that seems to finally break the captain.
well, she withdraws her finger, wonders at the gleam of the inhuman saliva. Do you remember your wife? I remember all that I have lost.
Does he though?
I don't know.
Or is he trying to?
Yeah, there's one moment when he's forgetting or remembering. I'm not sure which one. And he's like, "What is this language I'm speaking? When did I learn this language?"
Yeah, that's this most recent chapter, and the captain just reminds him that he's trying to remember.
It's just all very confusing, but I guess it's because the cleric is very confused himself.
And you're only getting the point of view of drug idled brains in the midst of the slog of slogs, just walking and walking and walking. But I guess they gotta eat deer, and kind of probably better than what the ordeal has, who finally got fresh water, which was
And
nice.
face, it's a nice change after the plains.
So what, no matter how many fish they caught, there's wasn't enough. They were still starved more and more every day.
Yeah, it's never enough. Well, I guess it's the Shreng are probably also getting fed now that they've reached a more fertile territory.
Finding some worms.
Yeah. I mean, and they're very nutritious, but man,
It did refer to Kelmomus as the four-horned brother, too, in his little part.
yeah, it seems like that's going to be or has been his aspect all along. Yeah, there were a lot of mentions of the foreigner brother in this chapter, like suspiciously many mentions.
I just alluded to him a long time ago because this only got mentioned once or twice before this.
Yeah,
Think.
I don't remember if he ever gets mentioned in the Prince of Nothing. I wasn't paying attention to it. I only remember Gilgal, but that's a different god.
He does, and hopefully I'll be able to find them once we wrap up the series. Definitely going to have to take an extra day of compiling stuff. I want to see what you guys think of the peach theory.
Where's the peach? I never heard. What is? Okay, no, maybe I probably don't want to know, but just the name. It's
that the arc is. Never mind. Never mind. Never mind.
We'll get there when we get there. That's just a word teaser.
The peach theory. And they do reach the Holy Library. I started. I mean, how much more can Akamian take? He's taken a. I mean, he's had some rough times in his life.
I suspect when he stops taking the Kiri, he'll just drop dead. I mean, look at what's his name, Cole. Like he's like completely like emaciated and like out of his mind, and because he's the only one who's not been taking Kiri the whole time. So, what do you think is going to happen to the others when the Kiri rounds out?
Just drop dead.
We'll see how bad it is. They all walk like 30 miles a day. That's way more than I could walk. They're all more physically fit than us even without the drugs, probably.
Well,
Yeah.
when you have to walk, I guess
So,
you know, better shape.
and I mean, just think of the withdrawal syndromes. Like, we already know that Maimara felt strange when she didn't have the cure for a few hours. What happens when you don't take it for days on?
All the killed emotions come back tripled, maybe. All the things that it takes away come back in a powerful way for a little bit. Or maybe they just curl up in a ball and die somehow of sickness.
Yeah, I think the two are not mutually exclusive. I'm looking at my notes to see if there's anything that.
Oh, Esmnet ends up back in a whorehouse. What do we think about that? From and to the tippity top and all the way back down again.
Full circle.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive how quickly she lost everything, like within the span of a few hours. Um,
Yeah.
and I did find it. How do we like? I do feel for Esminette, and she does talk about, like, she's talked about it several times, the fact that she's in this like very unique position where she's not really a commoner anymore, but she can also never be considered a peer by the caste nobles. Like, she doesn't fit anywhere. Um, and I guess the thing that made me the saddest is when, like, she talks to the woman. Neri is her name, right? I
Mm-hmm.
think. And like she sees, like she understands, like she can absolutely empathize with the like position that she has put Neri in. Um, but instead of just like releasing her or like going somewhere else and like leaving her life and sort of removing the danger that she is when for her when she's staying with her, she she decides to be the empress. She decides to fight for the empire and for her children, which is understandable. But in order to do that, she basically has to. It's like she's kind of like she has to manipulate herself. Like, it's right. Like, she has to manipulate and like threaten threaten Nari, um, even though like easily that could have been her in a different life if her life taken a different course. Um,
She has to put the knife to her old self, right?
but like you get it. Like, she's the empress. She and her her diabolical children are trapped in the palace, and like of course that's what she's going to do. I mean, she could just flee, but she won't. Um, like you get, like, you understand why she does it, but it's sad. But then like it's kind of unfair. Like, why it's like, why does she get judged so much? I feel like we're always like in a position where we feel like we have to judge her when we don't feel as strongly about some of the other characters.
Hmm.
I don't know. Maybe that, or maybe it's just me being too judgmental.
I think I don't know. I see her as being this whole the events leading up to the coup, I think she was being manipulated by her Dunyan children. So I don't know that we can really blame her too much for the choices she makes, because she was trying to make the right decisions and listening to her kids. And they have other ideas.
Yeah, but like maybe you should try not to get manipulated by your 7-year-old kid.
He's a Dunyan, you know.
I have to defend Theliopa. She's innocent in all this. She stutters. She just likes making dresses. She doesn't like making eye contact with people or talking to people, which is like how the Dunyan use their gift. So she just like by nature doesn't like to use her gift because it requires her to like look at someone and talk to them. So she's innocent. She's just likes making clothes and has a little stutter in her talk and hasn't done anything evil yet.
Yet.
Yeah, Team Thally.
It's the quiet ones you have to look out for.
Like Helmumus.
Yes, I can.
The voice inside his head, who's the quietest one, never makes a real peep.
Anything else you guys have in your notes for these chapters?
Well, we sort of learned that the Zaomi Sandikar, is that the title of the Zaomi ruler? I'll just assume it is. He's decided that they're going to help Fanile if he succeeds in doing something which has not been specified. Um, so we might see perhaps some Zaomi soldiers in the Three Seas soon, or sooner or later. And also, Malawebi does not like the other sorcerer ambassador. That he mentions it like 4 times, and it's always like super negative.
Yep. Or the priestess. They don't like each other either.
Oh yeah, Sadma. Yeah, no, he's not a fan. Well, it's not like it's more like he's terrified of her. Like he's really scared. Like he knows very well what power the goddess yields. So I think he's being reasonably cautious when it comes to her and her priestesses.
How many times have you said that reading this series, being reasonably cautious? Not very often.
Yeah, Nair was recklessly cautious. That's what I'd call him. As soon as he found himself believing, he would just get in a rage and be like, oh, it sounds good. I know it's wrong now.
There was I don't know if I tabbed it. There was a section, there was a line that Akami was thinking back on Nair, and he called into question his fate, or he mentioned something like, if he is gone. It kind of felt like it maybe opened the door for a return. But it has said in some of the what has come before sections that he died. But now it kind of, it was subtle, but I wondered if maybe I'm just reading too much into it, but it seemed like a maybe.
I would say don't trust anybody. Don't trust anything that anybody says. Yeah, you always have to doubt.
It's very true.
Doubt the ones who tell you he's dead. Doubt the ones who tell you he isn't. There's one thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the dream that Akamian has about now Coyote and his wife.
No, the poisoning.
Yeah, the one in
Oh.
which she poisons him, and like he's asleep, or like now Kyuri is asleep, but Akamian can still see her like drop some poison into his ear or mouth or wherever. So, well, first of all, is like, is this did this like is this actually happen? Like, is this how now Kyuri dies, or like does he actually die? Because it seems like she doesn't actually kill him. She's just planning to have him buried alive. But like, is that how he? Is that what actually happened to him? And is this before or after when Naokayuri visited or snuck into the Ark with Siswatha? Because that was another dream I think Akamian had, maybe in the Thousandfold Thought, when the two, yeah, they secretly they managed to get into the Ark. And is his wife, is that the same woman they were looking for inside the Ark, or is this someone else? And why is she like, why does she want to poison him? Like, what did he do to her that she's so desperate to get rid of him, and in this awful way? I have many questions, as you can see.
When she's the one that cheated on him with his sorceress best friend.
Wait, what? I
Yeah,
thought
she was conspiring, right? Is that kind of the way I read it?
No, they had already did something.
I thought that was Kalmomus's wife.
I feel like it even mentions it in the chapter. Like, as Akamian's looking through her eyes, he like realizes. I forgot. It was like talking about the color of her skin or something, and how he remembered it from the other dream.
How many people did she sleep with? Maybe, I don't know. Like, I wasn't. But at first, I thought it was the same. Yeah, like we did. Like, there was another dream where Saswatha was having sex with
His best friend's
someone,
wife.
which would be Kilmomus's wife.
Well,
Huh?
I don't know. There's so many different.
No, maybe I got it wrong. And if I did, I apologize. But I thought it was Kilmomus's wife. Yeah, I don't know. I have to reread it, I guess.
I'll try to remember that for next week. I'll try to find that little passage I saw. Then his other dream, he seems to be getting closer and closer to whatever the chain is dragging him towards. The golden room.
Yeah, maybe by the end of the Unholy Consult, he'll have enough dreams to actually enter the room.
It ends right before the door.
No, please don't end on a cliffhanger. That would be like, after 7 books, that would be really unfair.
Yeah, I hope not. I really hope not. That would really suck.
Daniel's facial expression's not giving me a lot of hope.
Me either. I'm
I'm
not to look.
trying to think of what the definition of a cliffhanger is.
Oh no.
Like, if you read about the first apocalypse and the no god died, would that be like the end? If you also knew that he was going to come back 1,000 years later, or is that a cliffhanger? What is a cliffhanger?
I would say an unsatisfying open ending.
Well, we'll see. We'll see when we get there.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
I don't know. Like, I mean, like, The Prince of Nothing has a pretty open ending, but I wouldn't call it well, I guess in some way it could be called a cliffhanger, but it's not an unsatisfying ending for me, at least. So if we get at least something similar to that ending, I will probably be satisfied. I would maybe prefer a little bit more of a closure, but it would be good enough, I guess.
The, it's a crazy ending. I'll just say that.
That's what everyone seems to say is it's a shocking
The
ending that will, yeah.
one of the craziest endings that could ever be. You guys could take where we're at now and imagine endings for a long time, and it might be close to the craziest ending you guys could come up with.
I try not to get my expectations too, like, I try not to look forward to it too much because I don't want to get disappointed, you know?
I don't know. I've been trying to temper my expectations, but everyone says that it's this amazing ending. So
Yeah, I'm probably
fingers
going to
crossed.
hate it. I can already see it. I don't like the, well, you know, everyone likes the Warrior Prophet. It's one of my least favorite books in the series.
Yeah,
People like Proyas, Salban. I'm not a fan.
Saban, poor Saban.
Proyas is growing on you. Saban hasn't even been around. We haven't even heard about him at all, really.
I think he had a mention. Someone mentions him, but it was
Yeah,
real quick.
he did get mentioned by name, but
This is 2 weeks in a row now you've talked about sympathy for Proyas. A couple more weeks and you're just going to be Team Proyas, it sounds like.
well, that may be too strong of a word, but I don't dislike Proyas. He gets at my nerves sometimes, but I mean he's a, well, no, I mean he did kill a lot of people. I was gonna say he's a good dude, but
He did it in the same way Esmet does it. Like, he doesn't ever kill anybody. He's weak. He's charged with the dispensation of life and death, like Charles Manson. He just says it.
Charles Manson.
He just says it and it happens.
oh
That's
well,
a fun comparison.
does that make him any less guilty or responsible?
I don't know. I don't know what the outside thinks.
Well, we would need Maimara to find out. Maybe she knows. Maybe she's seen him with the judging eye.
So many questions. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it. If we did guess, Daniel, what the end would be, would you tell us if we were right?
If we decided to do that, yeah, I definitely would.
No, I don't. I don't want to know. I want to be
Yeah.
surprised, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone else either.
I think
Yeah.
Baker has a way of going in the opposite direction of the guesses, anyways. Would you have guessed that Acamian was going to renounce his school and renounce his wife and renounce his prophet and just go live in a hut for 20 years, a tower?
No.
I don't remember what I thought
Would you
initially.
guys have guessed that Moingus was really going to get killed by Nair in the end?
I don't know. I don't think
I
so.
mean, maybe I was guessing that he would get his revenge since that was the one thing he kept talking about over and over again. I remember I certainly didn't expect him to be as, I didn't expect Moengus to be as weak as he was, like because of the Suke.
I think
I expect.
Kellis crippled Moingus too, right? So Moingus was like an old crippled man on the floor. So what kind of like payback is that? Killing an old feeble guy that you loved in the end?
It was. I mean, it just made me super sad. Really. And you,
But he
oh, I miss Neighbor.
Baker has a way of giving you enough information, but not letting you guess the correct path.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, well, I think I might have spoiled myself on some things, but like broad, like maybe with some characters, I might have an idea of where they're going, but I certainly, like, when it comes to the details, I managed to keep myself, I've managed to avoid spoilers so far, so I hope nothing's going to change about that. And yeah, I'm really excited about getting to the Great Ordeal and the Unholy Consult, because I'm expecting a lot less walking once we get to Golgarath. Like less walking, less. Well, I mean, I do enjoy the talking. The talking's fine, but the walking's that's what irritates me a little bit.
Yeah, I've had it with the walk-in too. So we have 3 more chapters to finish up, and we'll be done. And then we'll take our hiatus for a few weeks, and then we'll get into the Unholy Consult. Is that the third one? Oh, the Great
Yeah.
Ordeal.
No.
Got it.
That the what if like which is the one, like I'm trying to find a paperback of the Great Ordeal. It seems impossible. If anyone knows where I could get one, this edition, I know there's some editions on the internet, but I specifically, like, all my other books are this edition. So if you know, let me know, because I would very much like to complete the set that I have here.
I'll
see
see
if,
which
we can find
versions I have.
Yeah, I'm still hoping they'll do a reprint, because I think they did a reprint of the Warrior Prophet, because I think that for like a really long time the second book wasn't available either. So maybe that'll happen, but until then, I guess I'll just have to work with the ebook.
Yeah, well, we'll get. I'll try and find something. I'll find a place. I'm on it.
Okay. I mean, it's no big deal. But if anyone has any tips on how to get hold of one of the Overlook Press editions of the Great Ordeal, I would be very grateful.
Cool. So 3 more chapters to go. Looking forward to it. Daniel, where can people not get in touch with you?
The Page Chewing Forum, or the comment section of this video, or on YouTube, the comment section of the YouTube video for those listening on podcast, I guess.
Yeah. In Katerina, where can people get in touch with you and tell you how wrong you are about Saban?
Same as Daniel. I try to read the comments on the forum and also on YouTube. And you'll also find me on Instagram at The Errant if you want to get in touch with me.
Nice. So 3 more to go before our break, and then getting closer and closer, and getting more and more excited to finish this off and see this amazing ending. So we'll find out. Hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, we're almost there.
Almost there. So thanks, everyone. We'll see you all next week.